Good morning from the Houston Zoo. My name is Brianna. I'm a primate keeper, and today we are at Wortham's World of Primates at our northern white-cheeked gibbon exhibit, or our habitat, and we are going to check in on our gibbon family. Our gibbon family is made up of 3 gibbons. We have the black one. His name is Maximus. He is the dad. And then we have mom Ting, and then of course we have baby Marv. So if you've been following along with Marv, he is 8 months old now. He looks a little bit different than he did when he was first born. When he was first born, he was pretty much the same color as mom, but you might notice that he is starting to get a little bit darker, and he is going to continue to get darker until he is completely black like his dad, and that is going to happen around when he is 1 to 2 years old. He'll finish that transition. Both the boys and the girls, when they're babies, they'll make that transition to black, and then the females, they'll change back to white when they reach sexual maturity around 6 years old. But Marv, once he is black, he's going to stay black for the rest of his life. So you can see that color starting to come in. It's focused on his arms and his legs, but pretty soon he's going to darken more and more and get fluffier as well. So he is starting to eat solid foods. You can see he's taking some food from our keeper, Josie, and he is still nursing. He is going to continue to nurse probably until he's about 2 years old, but he's going to just increase the amount of solid food that he's eating. He always wants to try what mom is eating. She doesn't always share with him, but he's pretty good at getting little tastes here and there. So he's been trying out lettuce, different types of veggies like sweet potato and tomato, but he really loves bananas and blueberries and anything sweet. So he really enjoys that. So our other keeper, Amelia, is feeding Max. So Max is, he's going to be 11 on February 21st, so it's almost his birthday. And then Ting, she is 9 years old. They are both first-time parents, so Marv is their first baby, and they've both been doing excellent. Being a first-time mom as a gibbon can be pretty difficult, but Ting is a natural. She's been really good with him. She pushes him to be more independent. Sometimes she'll climb along the mesh, and you'll kind of see her wait for Marv, and then as soon as he gets close, she'll move away again, just to encourage him to climb a little bit more. And as you can see, Marv is pretty rambunctious. He likes to bounce off of the mesh. He likes to chew on things. And he is starting to brachiate a little bit, which is pretty exciting. Brachiation is a movement that gibbons do. It's an arm over arm motion. So if you guys are familiar with being on monkey bars and you're going from one rung to the next, that's pretty much what brachiation is. And they are specialists at it. So being a gibbon means you are brachiating, so it's really exciting that Marv is learning how to do that. So he is practicing all sorts of movements. This exhibit is a little bit too big for him. His arm span is not that big yet, but we have this really cool jungle gym that one of our keepers made for him, and Ting will drop him off at that every once in a while, let him play. And it has a lot of the same things that the exhibit has, and that way he can practice all of the stuff he's going to need to know for when he's climbing around the exhibit. And it gives mom a break too. So Ting, she is our very inquisitive of the 2 gibbons, of the 2 adults. She is very interested in what's going on around her. And she is a bit more playful. If she has a piece of enrichment or some sticks, sometimes she'll toss them in the air. She is known for tossing pieces of food in the air and sometimes catching them in her mouth. Max we've started to see him do that as well. He's kind of imitating her. That's something he never did before she came here. And then Max is very laid back. He's very sweet. And he's been a really good dad to Marv. When Marv was first born, all we really wanted from him is to be tolerant of Marv. But now that Marv is getting a little bit older, they're starting to interact a little bit more. And we have seen them have small play sessions, and we have seen Max offer to carry Marv. Marv has not quite caught on to that yet, but Max has been a great dad so far. So you guys can see that the gibbon arms are incredibly long. So that is so that they can do that brachiation movement that I talked about. They are arboreal, which means they live in the trees. They live high in the canopy, and they are native to northern Vietnam and Laos. So they live high up in the canopy, and they use those long arms to swing from tree to tree. And like I mentioned, they have those differing colors, so we call that sexual dimorphism. That just means that there's a difference between the two sexes. So in this particular species of gibbons, the adult males will always be black, and the adult females will always be a buff color. Gibbons are also known for their songs. Each species of gibbon has their own melody. We do have another species of gibbon here called siamangs. And if you are able to ever hear them vocalizing, you'll hear that they do have very different sounding songs. But both the males and the females, they have different harmonies, and no pair of gibbons sings exactly the same. It differs a little bit from pair to pair. So the song serves as a territorial call. They'll use it mostly along the edges of their territory, so that they can announce where the edges of their territory are. And so they will often do that first thing in the morning. And then it is also a bonding activity. And so it has been shown that gibbons that have a more cohesive song, that they are more closely bonded. Ting and Max have taken a little bit of a break with regular calling. And that might just be because being a parent is exhausting, and they don't want to take that energy to do all of that calling. So we have a question, what is their diet? So they are mainly frugivores, which means they're eating primarily fruit. Most of their diet is made up of other plant material, so they'll eat buds, leaves, sometimes flowers, seeds. But then they'll also eat some insects, sometimes eggs, or small animals. Do gibbons live in family groups, or are they more solitary? So gibbons live in family units. They tend to be monogamous, so they have one partner at a time, and they tend to stay with their partner for a good chunk of their life. So Ting and Max, now that they are together, they're in the wild, they would stay together for quite a while. So there's typically a male and a female, and then their dependent offspring. The offspring typically leave the family group when they're about 7 years old. So sometimes there might be 2 to 3 offspring in the family at the same time. So some of the biggest threats facing the gibbons in the wild is habitat loss. And there's a bunch of different reasons why they're losing their habitat. Clearing for agriculture, or for logging. And and they're interrupting our conservation message by being very cute. Like I said, they're starting to interact together a little bit more, and Max is super tolerant of Marv, even though he's climbing all over him. So as I was saying, they're losing a lot of their habitat. Southeast Asia is losing their forested areas faster than any other tropical area in the world. And so pretty much all species of gibbons are endangered or critically endangered. So it's very important that we preserve their habitat. One thing that we can all do to help protect all animals that live in forests is to reduce our use of paper. And when we do use paper, try to use recycled products, or to recycle those products once we're done. And by doing that, we can protect all of the forests around the world from cutting down trees for paper. The Houston Zoo also partners with partners in Southeast Asia, particularly in Borneo, and gibbons do live in that area, not this particular species of gibbon, but we are working to replant trees in that area to help give animals in that area places to live. And so by supporting the Houston Zoo and by coming to the Houston Zoo and visiting, you will help protect animals in the wild. So why are the gibbons different colors? So the easiest answer is that they distinguishes between the sexes. The buff color on the mom, that will she'll blend in a little bit more, and when the babies are born, since they're that color, that'll help them blend in more. And then when they get a little bit older and they turn darker, they do spend a little bit more time with dad, so they'll blend in with dad a little bit more, and then they'll just blend in with the shade and the different colorations of the trees a little bit more than if they were white. How long is mom's gestation period? So mom's gestation period is about 7 months, which is pretty long for an ape or a primate of that size. Compared to humans, obviously it's 9 months. Chimps are about 8 months. So if you compare, chimps are quite a bit bigger. The gibbon gestation period is lengthy. When is the best time of day to see our gibbons be active? It's a little bit hit and miss, but first thing in the morning is usually a good time to see them because they will have just shifted out onto exhibit, so they're eager to explore and see what food and enrichment items we have out here for them. And towards the end of the day, they're also a little bit more active. This time of year, they tend to be more active as well because it's not as hot. During the summer, especially during the hot middle of the day hours, they're going to be resting a bit more so that they can conserve their energy. What's my favorite thing about working with the gibbons? I really enjoy their personalities. They are very unique. Like I said, Max is really sweet and laid back. Ting is more inquisitive. And she's really goofy and playful, and obviously Marv is Marv, and there's everything to love about him. It's been really rewarding getting to work with a group that has a baby and getting to see that baby grow, and I look forward to seeing him continue that journey. Are gibbons generally nice to people? That's a great question. It's also a difficult question to answer. They are a wild animal. Any wild animal can be unpredictable. They have teeth. I know Max probably won't show us, but he's got some pretty good sized canines in his mouth. And since they are wild animals, we do want to give them their space. We as keepers never go in the same space with them, and when we interact with them, if you were able to see the zookeepers feeding them, fingers never go through the mesh. That is a risk of getting bitten, so they have to bring their mouth to the mesh and we can give them the food that way. We're also very cognizant of their behavior. If Ting were to be really worked up and not in a very good mood and she was trying to grab at us while we were feeding her, we would stop that session because we would not want to reward her being grumpy. And that would probably indicate that she doesn't really want to be with us at that moment as well. So we can definitely create a bond with these primates, but with the realization that they are wild animals and we want to respect that, and we want to have them act as naturally as possible. What are milestones that Marv has reached at his age or things that he likes to do currently? Well, as you can see currently, he loves to go in circles. He's climbing on his gym and visiting dad and then visiting mom and climbing back and forth. So he is a very active little kid. He is very curious. And as you can tell, mom is pretty tired at this moment. So milestones that he's reached, he has been eating solid foods. He has been spending more time off of mom. He has climbed vertically, horizontally. He's climbed in and out of a shift door. He's started to brachiate. And he has also participated in family calls. So those songs I was talking about, he started to participate in those as well. And all of the babies, both the boys and the girls, they'll actually sing mom's part when they first start. So I said that the boys and the girls have different harmonies. So the baby will sing the same part as mom, and then once the boys reach maturity, they'll start changing over to the male's part. How long have Max and Ting been at Houston Zoo? Max has been here since 2019. He came here with his brother Murray, and they were both still pretty young, so they would have been in a family group or just leaving a family group at that age. So they were at the right age to leave their parents and go off on their own. And then as they both started getting older, we wanted to send one of them off so that they could, again, mimic what would happen in the wild. The males would go off and they would go in search of a mate. So once Marie left, we were able to bring Ting here, and she has been here since about 2021. When we introduced them, we had to do it slowly. First, we did a visual introduction so that they could see each other, and then we had them on either side of the mesh door so that they could touch each other if they wanted to, but they couldn't really get at each other. And then once we were seeing really positive signs, we put them together and we just watched them very closely. Ting, it was kind of love at first sight. She was really excited about meeting Max. Max took a little bit of time to warm up, but they very quickly became very close, and they've been very close ever since. Will Marv stay here with Max and Ting once he's an adult, or will he eventually move? So he will eventually move. So we're going to mimic what would happen in the wild. So probably when he is about 7 or 8, we might look at moving him to another institution. There's a group of people called a Species Survival Program, and they're a group of people who will look at all of the individuals of a certain species, and they will make recommendations on where animals should move. And sorry, I've never seen that little sliding move before. That's new. And they'll make recommendations on where to move. They'll make recommendations on breeding pairs. And so when he gets older, we will look for a recommendation from the SSP on where he should go to explore his new part of his life. So thanks for tuning in today to get an update on Marv. Tune in again next week for our next Facebook Live.